Welcome to another episode of
the Modern Black Man Podcast.
You already know I got the homie Doug with me. He's doing big things. Thank you for taking the time out.
No problem, man. You just put a little sign on my door.
I wanted to do this episode and just talk about marrying up. I wanted to do this episode and talk about successful relationships. I think that too many people go into their relationship without any care, consideration, planning, or preparation. I think it makes a world of a difference when you consider your partner. What you think about that?
I was about to ask you, what data do you have to make that suggestion? But
That's what we're talking about. We making the data.
well, I mean, I don't know. I don't believe that. I don't believe finding a marriage partner requires a lot of time or effort. I think it's just. I think a person should, essentially be prepared to be married. I don't think you can prepare yourself financially to be married because, I mean, if even if I'm rich, that doesn't mean that I'm prepared to be married.
That's what I'm
saying. But when I say prepared, I think from a spiritual standpoint. So I would think more towards like Adam and how God prepared him for marriage.
Can you explain to the audience that might be unfamiliar with this?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are some specific characteristics that that God instilled into Adam before he made Eve. One, he had a relationship with Adam, so Adam had a relationship with God. I think that's paramount to any relationship taking a good fold. And that's simply because, what I mean, like if I'm able to humble myself to my creator, my spouse will see that and understand how to humble themselves to me. Adam also had a job, his job was to name animals. So he had a responsibility. Adam also had a home. He lived in the garden. And I think, just those three prerequisites are simply enough for, especially me as a father, to say, okay, Jasmine, okay, this man has come to me and told me that he wants your hand in marriage, and I feel like that's enough. I don't feel like he has to make a specific amount of money. I think he just has to have the drive and the motivation to go out and ensure that he's providing for his household. However,
Proverbs in there, the steps of the righteous man are ordered.
Yeah, I mean, they are, but I mean, you don't necessarily know that order.
God first is the order.
Yeah, so I think that, the fact of the matter is if that the prerequisites. If you're saying that that's the order, then I guess that makes sense. But like I said, I mean, I don't like when people. I've been seeing a lot of YouTubes and, like guys will go up to girls and they'll ask them, how much does a man need to be made for them to be with you? And they'll say something stupid like 100K, 200K and stuff like that, knowing they never met anybody that make 200K in their life.
It's $500 to go on a date with me. You're gonna have to get 1,800. We're gonna have to go and we're gonna have lobster and we're gonna have all that stuff, is what they say.
Yeah, because they're entitled. I mean, they truly believe that they're actually worth that. That type of headache. I don't think anybody is worth me going out to be the CFO of a company in order to marry you. Like, I mean, like, who do you think you are?
But what about the reason why I'm having this episode? What about building with somebody? I think that the problem that we have in our culture is what you just said, especially on the female side of things. The female side of the equation is often hugely imbalanced with what you call entitlement. Women are misled. And I think that a lot of our women are misled because they've been used so much.
Well, I mean, I don't know everybody's story, so I don't know if they've all been used. What I do know is they've all been a great many of them have been duped into thinking that for whatever reason that they're how do I put this lightly? Um, that they deserve somebody that makes 200K a year. I mean,
They're
I mean,
unique.
yeah, like because that sort of lifestyle is completely different from what anything that they've ever experienced. So I don't know why they would assume that that's what they're due. Um, but I mean, me personally, I think that a man that is willing to go to work is hard enough to find, especially in today's day.
I
I mean,
mean,
me and you having conversation from our own work, like we're at work, both of us are at work right now, and it's like that sort of thing isn't enough for girls these days. And I
why
think
you
that
gotta work and you got a podcast? Why you can't just make your money on a podcast?
yeah, because they're stupid. They honestly think that this sort of thing is yeah, I mean, like this is not a respectable, position. This is something I would do on the side of me in ensuring, those things are taken care of. Now, I mean, when you asked me about, building together, I don't like the idea of building together if we're talking about the business or if we're talking about building money. I'm a very traditional guy, so even though I'm married to a woman that's in the military, if you ask me, I think that women's place are at home.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason why their place is at home is because if you look out right now, and you look at the crime statistics between 1950s to now, you'll see the difference. Um, I don't have a problem with women voting. I don't have a problem with you know even women working, single women working. I don't have a problem
Women
with that.
clergy.
Huh?
What about women in the clergy? Women,
Oh,
female.
not at all. Not at all. I think that's totally against biblical principle. I mean, but that's not a paid position. You know what I mean? So, but I digress. I think that if her main focus is ensuring that the kids are taken care of correctly, then we don't have to worry about them robbing us in 10 years. You know what I mean? Because they have a fear of mom. They have a fear of dad. You know what I mean? I overheard my wife tell my daughter a couple of days ago when she was in the bathroom, trying to do her hair. She couldn't get her to sit still. She was like, "I'm gonna tell daddy," and all I heard was, "No, no, 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 no." And I was just like, "See, that's what you want." Because Jasmine's not scared of me, but she doesn't want to disappoint me.
Right.
You see the difference. The average girl. I mean, running around with here with an OnlyFans page could care less if they disappoint their dad, right?
We're talking about two very interesting things. Uh, I think that this is a place in the church based on God. And I think that this can create a good juxtaposition for us to look at maybe godliness and worldliness. So we can dichotomize our conversation through these two lenses, because I really want to talk about protecting the family and all the good stuff that we're putting out right now. Because you're drawing some good bright lines. Does that sound fair? Like the two lenses, the lens of the godly family, the godly home, or just God, and then the world. Those
Yeah. Yeah.
positions.
Well, I mean, the funny part about it is I think that people have gotten it misconstrued as if it's a choice in the matter.
Mm,
You okay, so I'm gonna say this and then I'll move on, but people have to come to a clear understanding that there isn't choices out there in the atmosphere of what religion to choose. There isn't.
spicy. I gotta get it. Uh oh. Tell me more.
What, what you have is what you have is good and evil,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, if I was to define good and evil, I would define good being God, being Christ, right? And I would define evil being everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, though, if so, there's your choice, right? I can either be classified as evil in God's eyes or a child of God, right? And I think that the serious issue is people are running around thinking that they have multiple choices. Like, I mean, there aren't. I mean, Satan is very old. He's very, 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 very old, and he's very, very knowledgeable of how we move as humans. Right? He's been watching us for as long as humans have been around. He's been watching us. He knows how to manipulate us. Right? Think about it this way: when Jesus was in the wilderness for to be tempted by Satan, Satan used the same tactics he uses on people all the time, right? So, I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, it wouldn't have been that hard to convince you to say, okay, fine, hey, I'll take this portion of the world if that's what you're going. If you can give me that, if you can give me that, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? Um, as opposed to asking or telling
God,
someone who created it. You know what I mean? Like, because God created what He was being offered, so it was
it's mine.
yeah. And his mind is like, how could you give me something you don't own?
Right.
But we don't realize.
In the world, we try to defend what we don't own because ooh, you got me going. Because we're children of God. So I think that's so good. That is the dichotomy. You only have one choice if you really see the full picture. But
Yeah.
people don't see the full picture. That's why it's a dichotomy. And that's why I'm having the conversation. I think it's far too often men are willing to say that they're leading their homes through carnal knowledge and making horrible decisions because they're not acquainted to God, is what I'm really, really understanding. And not,
Which makes perfect sense.
yeah,
I mean, and if you really think about it, like I said, that word humble is a word that, most men, they don't understand that it has to start with them.
amen.
Like, if you're not apt to being humble to someone, then there's no way that you're going to get anybody else how to understand how to be humble to you, because they don't know what it looks like, right? That, I mean, she may know what it feels like to humble herself to her mom and dad, but that's because they made her, and she's lived with them her entire life.
They've
But to,
protected, they've provided for her. They've
right, right. So now it's either she learns how to humble herself to you because you have that same ability to bend your knee to someone else, and she sees that and mimics that, and as a result she's not around to get paid, right? Because essentially a lot of these girls right now are, they're getting married as if it is a position, right? Like it's a job now. Like if I'm just trying to get hired for the for the right wife job. Right? So I can sit on my butt and ask for money and go buy expensive things whenever I feel like it. And I don't see any problem with treating your wife to nice things at all. I think the beauty of a married couple that are grounded in Christ is that's not her end all be all, right? Like her end all be all is the house in itself. I mean, she understands what her baby is. She understands what her goal is, and her goal isn't to always update her purses as soon as possible or make sure her shoes are matching the purse. She's just grateful of the fact that she has purses and shoes, because quite honestly, because she knows the flip side of it is that dude that she passes by on the street every day on her way to wherever she's going, that same person that she sees every day when she turns her nose to him most of the time, or she's a humble body, and when she sees him she has a heavy heart to that situation. And
Mhm.
it kind of takes full circle. No matter where she goes, she becomes a representative of her household and not a representative of herself, right? Yeah, you ever? I don't know if you've ever sat and watched an episode of Real Housewives of wherever, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where we're talking about. But let's just. I mean, the last episode I ever saw was in DC, where me and you lived in Potomac.
Yeah.
Now, all several of these women, their main goal in life was, just trying to build up their brand, and what I'm saying, trying to market themselves to do X, Y, and Z. And as I watched it, I just was just like, this is not right. Like, I mean, it's just not right. Where are your men? Where are they? You know what I mean?
Well, the men show up because the women talk about the men. And then they have to do a whole episode about why Tammy doesn't like Victor, and it's yep. Where are
Yeah,
and why aren't they leading?
right. I mean, and it's just like, because if think about, I think about it in a sit the when I think about, like, my small circles that that me and my wife are involved in, you know when if you saw those four women together, you don't have to look too far to see where the husbands are. They're more than likely in the same house, in a circle, a few feet away,
Mhm.
right? um and no, they're not following us to do everything. No, that's not I mean, and it's weird, like how people just, they just immediately jump to servitude. I mean, like they. But what's wrong with that? I ask
That's why women
sometimes.
don't
Like, I
cook.
mean,
That's why they don't cook.
yeah, yeah. I don't ask about why a servant does what he or she does. But if you ever ask the servant why he does it, is because they understand, how their position makes the world go round, so to speak,
Hmm.
right? Like how the house is successful because I am doing my part to the best of my ability, right? Um, I'm
I don't
not trying to build.
want the
I'm
world
not
do
trying to
that.
build my own brand. I'm trying to build up this brand, right? And the only way I can build up this brand is by, her also having that same relationship. Now, if you think about Eve, we go back to that same story. The first person that Eve ever met was God. She didn't meet Adam first. She
Mhm.
met God first, and then God put her in the garden. So, and then she was given the law from Adam. So, I mean, there's a it's a funny correlation, but the fact of the matter is both of them had a defining relationship with God that made being together a lot easier to stomach for hundreds of years, right? Because they were, I mean, Adam lived for more than 100 years, so there's no mention of when Eve died, but I do know that she did populate the majority of the world um, for that time. So I would imagine that she had a clear understanding of her role in the situation, and it wasn't to build up the Eve brand, and it wasn't to ensure that said she get hers. It was all a matter of fulfilling God's goal, which was to populate the earth. Um, and for whatever reason, women have come to the point where that is servitude. That is um, not what I want to do. I mean, like, who asked you? You know what I mean? Nobody asked you what you want to do. Because think about it, nobody really asks us what we want to do.
Never.
When you really think about it, everybody expects things from us. We are expected to find a job. We're
I have a question.
expected.
Is
Sure.
that leadership?
So is that what is what?
Is that leadership?
Which part?
Men not being asked but showing up. Men not being included but knowing. Is that leadership?
No, I think it's the groundwork for one.
Mm.
Uh, because if he takes that role seriously, um, then he'll start to wonder the end all be all of this. Why do I have to get up at 6 o'clock every morning to be to work by 8 and get off at 4? just to get up and do it again, and only to make a certain amount of money, a day. But when, when he turns around and all the bills are paid, um, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't have a worry in the world except, what I'm going to do on Saturday when I have some time off. Um,
Good life.
Essentially, he can take that motivation and put it into other people, i.e., a wife, right? So now he can take, what he's learned from going back and forth to work, doing what other people tell him to do, uh, and he can come home and create a system that makes sense, right? He can come home and create a routine with him and a woman that makes sense for, procreation. And then once they do procreate, then, now those systems are taught to kids, and the story will continue on as long as everybody understands their roles.
If anybody wants more content like that, definitely check out our Cursing Christian project. Below is a link to our Facebook group, and we are on other social media platforms. Um, Please continue. I wanted to offer that to anybody listening because that eternal truth is really, really powerful. I don't like to meld all the platforms all the time, but Cursing Christian. We are on YouTube. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Telegram. Um, I love that project. We're actually growing. We've got hundreds of people active in our community, and we'd like for you to join that project as well at Cursing Christian on most major social media platforms.
Yeah. Um. So I mean, yeah, like I was saying, those those roles in the house, even if they trickle down correctly, and by correctly I mean because everybody has bought into one goal instead of everybody having their own individual goals. And I'll even be a little transparent, like and tell you, like, from my household, how things don't always make sense because my wife works. I'm saying, because she works, what I mean, simple things like picking up the kids can become hard, right? Picking up the kids from school can become a travesty in many cases, because I get off at 4:30 and she gets off at 4:30. I work off base, she works on base, and sometimes she'll call me and ask me if I was going to be picking up the kids. Like, but you work around the corner.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which is funny to me that that question would even come up, but it's from a lack of understanding of the marital roles. I mean, because she has gotten so caught up in her career, she doesn't understand that those kids, no matter how old they get, until they leave the house, they are your responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
But I love the blend of traditional and modern in your house. I think that leads you guys to a lot of success because you're a doting dad, you're a loyal husband, but you're dedicated to your family, just like your wife's dedicated to your family. And you can see your products, you can see it in the children, and it's not like what you encounter in the world.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I will say that Junior does make me a proud father. Um, I mean, Jasmine is only 3, so I mean,
Oh,
I
stop.
mean,
That's your pride and joy, man.
yeah,
Don't even
they're all.
play with me,
I mean,
man. That is
they're all. I'm just gonna use Junior as an example because what I mean, like, he has, you know, accolades at this point. You know what I mean? Like, he. I mean, he put on orange belt, what I mean, in karate, what I'm saying? He's part of all of these different science networks, and what I mean, like, just some of his interests will interest you, just because it's just like, wow, man, that's cool that you're not spending all your time on YouTube watching people do dumb stuff or say dumb stuff. You're not. I mean, he's just not very easily swayed by carnal minds.
you
He
know what
actually,
from that.
yeah,
You
he's
know
actually
what,
even bring it up to me, and he'll ask me questions about things that he sees, and not with the sense of just being curious, but like, why do they do that? You know what I mean?
Learn.
Like, Yeah, he concerned. That's a better word. Like he's really concerned about, you know, his surroundings and why people do what they do. Like I remember one time the boy literally wrote a paper, and I'm not even playing about this. This was last year, so this was sixth grade. Well, no, this was what yeah, sixth grade for him. And the boy wrote a 3-page paper about abortion, and I was just like, yeah, that's how I was looking. I was exactly the face you made, the face I made, because I'm reading, I'm like, how do you come to these conclusions at such a young age? But at such a young age, I mean, he literally was, you know, he questioned a person's ability to even make a choice to kill someone else. That's what he pretty much, you know, how he laid it out. He was just like, just because the baby is in resides in a woman's stomach, does that mean that it's not a baby? Why are they changing the words to say it's not a baby just because it's not breathing regular air? Um, I mean, and he had, you know, other arguments besides that, but it was just really intriguing that he was, you know, he thought so deeply about, you know, different issues that go on, you know, today in today's world. Um, and you know that makes me really proud as a father. I mean, and my hat goes off to my wife in these situations because like I can see that, you know, she is, you know, doing her part to mold him correctly, right? She's doing her part to ensure that he is watching the world.
Right. It
um
takes two.
yeah, well, I mean, from I guess from my perspective, it's what and what I like to always say, men, you just going to work and coming home is not it. It's not that's not the whole goal. Yes, you're not we can't eat if we don't go to work. That's true. That's true. However, the kids don't learn if you don't talk to them, right? I do realize that, you know, people like me that was raised by the streets in many cases. I should say my age, that was raised by the streets, that, you know, they they didn't have a daddy at home, so they went outside to find one. However, you know, in Junior's case, I mean, I can easily just go to work and come home and go to work and come home and never bother with the kids. And as a result, he will do the same thing. He will go outside and try to find a father because they do want to be molded. They do want to be told no. Um,
Mm.
they do want their freedoms, but they also want to understand their parameters, right? You know,
I
dealing
don't
in
think this generation jumps out the porch the way we did, is what I'm starting to observe. But that doesn't mean that they're not in danger.
yeah, they're all in danger. I mean, because they're put it like this. Even if I was raising my kid in a gated community,
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
There are people inside that gated community that I still don't want him bothering with, right? The dude across the street he may be making a 200K a year, but he may be at work all the time. He may be that kind of guy that's just at work all the time, and as a result, his wife is cheating on him. As a result, his son, you know, engages in pornography and things of that nature. So I don't want my son to talk to that kid. I don't want him
Oh wow.
to be around that kid. I would love for that kid to kind of watch my house, right?
Hmm.
To how my house is moving on a Saturday afternoon, right? So
Yeah.
it can upset him a little bit. You know, I'm like, why my dad don't do that? And he can ask that question to his dad, like, why you don't ever do nothing with me on
Yeah.
Saturday? No, you don't have to work. And then the first thing may come out of his mouth is, I've been working all week. And the kid should be quick to reply with, so have I. You know what I'm saying? Like, you send me to school every day, and I mean, for the lack of understanding, I mean, my son gets all A's. I've never seen him with anything less than maybe a B plus for a couple of weeks, but for the grades, you know what I'm saying? It just kind of happens organically because he's in tune with what the teacher is talking about, because you know what I mean, when I talk to him, I'm not talking to him about grades. I'm talking to him about what he learned. I want to know what you learned. I
Yeah.
want to know how this applies to everything else, right? And those are the kind of conversations men need to be having with their sons and daughters. Because if you're not having those conversations with your daughter, well, she's going to disappoint you. She's going to bring home a boy that you don't approve of. She's going to engage in activities that that
Mm.
put her in danger of having kids early, or losing her virginity too early.
Her
Um,
innocence, and if it's not just traditional virginity, I mean, absolutely.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the word innocence, the word innocence kind of requires, certain parameters that, we can't always assume are there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Jasmine, she gets up around maybe 6:30, and then she's driven to the CDC. Right now, the CDC is a very professional place, but that doesn't mean that I know exactly what the teachers are always talking about when they're talking amongst themselves. And I don't know if Jasmine manages to hear any of that. Right?
Mm.
I I hope for the best, right? And I mean, you can say the same thing about Junior when he's dropped off at school, right? You expect that this is a very professional place. However, yeah, I do often hear about conversations that he is privy to from other kids, and it
Mm.
really wonder, living on a military base, like where are they getting all of this? And usually they're getting it from YouTube. They're getting it from
Social
they're
media.
yeah, social media, TV. They're getting it from other avenues that their parents haven't created those parameters for. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want they want to ensure that they're being their kid's friend. Now, me
I
and my
can't
kid,
stand that.
yeah, me and my kid are very close, but I've never looked at Junior as a friend.
I don't understand how parents can do that though. Like you're lying to yourself and you're lying to your kid. You don't birth your friends. You can't respect someone that you create like that. I mean, it's you protect before you respect or
Right.
expect from something that you create. So, yeah, man, I'm with you on that. I um I just had to do this episode because I see how a lot of people operate, and in my humility, I just want people to observe a greater view, to be exposed to bigger things, and to hopefully raise the bar of expectation in their homes, because I'm not driving home the point that it's only about religion and it's only about God. But I'm driving home the point that God heals, restores, and is the ultimate salvation. This is a different platform from another show that I do, but I wanted to make those points because our home lives mean more to the world than anything else. And I
Yeah.
appreciate your hard work, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I think if we're smart enough to understand that, what I mean, like, if I'm going to call it home, then it has to be the most important portion of my
Mm.
day,
Amen.
right?
Right.
Because everything else is for the home, right? Like, you don't go
Secondary.
out and make money so you can pay bills somewhere else. You're paying those bills at home,
Yep.
right? You're trying to keep the lights on at home, right? You're trying to keep
Charity
food in.
begins at home.
Huh?
Charity
Yeah, like
begins at
all of
home.
that, all of that, man. Like, and I mean, if you put it like this, if you're willing to be honest with yourself, if you can look at the word sex as something that I can only receive, and I can only um think something I can only do at home,
Mm.
then women will stop looking like, food to you when you walk outside.
Woo. That's
Yeah,
that's kind of some heat though, right there.
yeah,
The way to quell temptation is to give reverence to your bedroom.
yeah. You have to. I mean, like, put like this, like like when my let's say my wife, deploys or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You will obviously get extremely lonely or whatever. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't have people over my house. You know what I'm saying? If I have get-togethers with mutual friends, no, we could do it at one of y'all house. You know what I'm saying? Because
Oh
that's her
wow.
domain. That's her domain. I mean, this is even though she's not a traditional mom, and she's not always at home. That's still her spot.
That's such an important tenet. I think in life, most of the things that we do in the dark are the most important things. Most of the things that we do without a witness are the most important things for our lives. So I applaud that. Um, there's not enough people operating like that. To be able to trust your partner when you're out of the city, out of the state, but out of the country is a whole nother level of connectedness and devotion. So I think that was a good lesson. I think that these words should resonate, and hopefully a seeds planted to help people aspirationally arrive to a point where they operate as such.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it'll make for an easier life, man. People always say, I've been hearing, happy wife, happy life all my life. Now, I don't necessarily know how true that is, in reference to if the quote itself matters. What I do know is keeping her happy keeps me happy,
I
right?
like to say happy spouse, happy house.
That's fair. I mean, I guess it's the same exact thing, but
Yeah. But I mean, we all want to kick it to the wife, and I'm with you.
yeah,
My significant other is always going to be significant in my life, and I would never want to disrespect that person by minimizing their role or dismissing their importance. Um, I'm with you, man.
yeah. What I mean, that's so the flip side to that is what you see in today's world, where they're trying to um, they're devaluing women by saying that a man can be a woman, right? And by doing that, when two men decide that they want to get together and be called married, which is impossible.
Mhm.
And I mean, I say that I don't say that with a heavy heart or with a chip on my shoulder. I'm going to be honest with you. Two men or two women cannot be married. You can call yourself what you want to call yourself, but that I mean, there's a definition to everything, right? And Christ gave the definition to marriage 2,000 years ago, and that definition doesn't change just because you refuse to see it His way. Um, so, I mean, to my point, to the point, uh, by devaluing women, we and attempting to even take their place, what we're doing is we're changing I guess say the algorithm of
Mm.
how
Nature.
of nature. Yeah, okay. We're attempting to change the algorithm, but essentially we're just stopping it. We're putting it at a halt because I mean if you look at um, population numbers, I mean, but I mean I'm not saying from some time to now. I mean if
They're
you look
going
at
down. They're going
yeah, it's going
down.
the wrong direction, trending the wrong direction, and it's like, and it's only one. It can only be one reason, and that's usually sin, because
Yeah.
uh,
Putting it. Yeah.
even two. Well, so okay, so the only thing I ever struggle with in reference to marriage is whether or not it requires, uh, state sponsorship, or it requires um,
Paper.
actual or people or anything like that. Like from my studies, I found that sex consummates marriage, right? So prior to that would be uh, the wedding, and prior to that would be courting. So if I have decided to court a woman, I'm making a clear decision or depiction of who is going to be for me, right?
Yeah.
Now, um, if I marry her, the essentially what I'm telling the world is that she's the one for me. But once I have sex with her, I'm telling every man hands off. right? I mean, because
Hmm.
this one is specific now. I
But
mean,
that's after marriage with the sex.
it's supposed. I mean, and that's
It's
why it's
supposed
supposed.
to be.
That's why it's supposed to be.
Mm.
And I mean, because that's where the word consummate comes from, because it's like,
You consume
it,
the flesh.
well, essentially, if she were pure,
Hmm.
which is not normal these days, if she were pure,
Yeah.
that breaking of that seal, which
Yep.
where she gets that, where that blood comes from, the breaking of that seal is
Hmm.
only, it can only be broken once,
Yep.
right? So if
That's
you come
true.
behind, you having sex behind another dude, you'll never enjoy it the way he did.
Amen. I think that's kind of spicy, and I want to put one more out there: polygamy. I think that we've got monogamy and polygamy completely messed up in our culture. People feel that they can become virgins again, right? What we're talking about. They feel that they can restore through either man or themselves. And I get a little frustrated because I'm not pure. But, and I don't expect my partner to be 100% pure, but I don't confuse myself or my flesh into thinking that I'm being monogamous or that somehow I can reverse my singlehood and be that. And I just wouldn't want to expect, I don't appreciate when women feel that they can, God, that they can undo the men that they've been through. Like you
You're
just said.
right. I've been through them. Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
so,
it's not a dodge. It's not a diss. It's a fact. I'm
well,
just
that's
saying.
the whole purpose of wearing white. That's why they wear white at the wedding,
Yep.
because as far the whole purpose of that symbolism is so that the world does see that she is still pure,
Amen.
right? That she's not being tainted, that she has not been touched, right? So she has a completely white dress that has no stains or blemishes on it, right? Essentially, if we look at it from a sacrificial standpoint, this is the best sacrifice right here, right? Her body is the best sacrifice
Yeah.
for this for this household. So she's about to make a, she's going to sacrifice her virginity or her pureness or her innocence for the sake of procreation, not for the sake of happiness or enjoyment. There is a lot of enjoyment in holy matrimony,
When
right?
was the last time you heard about two pure people unifying?
Well, I mean, I hear about it all the time.
Really?
I
That's
do.
beautiful.
But the
Yeah.
only reason is because, I mean, I pay a lot of attention to Christian channels on YouTube and stuff like that. So I do get to hear about a lot of people that did things the right way, right?
Man. Yeah.
Like for instance, like, okay, so my son is only what, 13, 12, 13.
Yeah.
So me and him don't even talk about sex right now, right? It
Wow.
doesn't
Good.
it doesn't come up. You know what I'm saying? We've gotten to the point in culture that we think that we got to talk about the birds and the bees as soon as he gets old enough to know what a bird and the bee is, only because because of age. No, that's not, his age has nothing to do with it, right? His environment is going to be shaped based on what's important to him. So if I've made rap important to him, if
Mm,
I made booty shaking important to him, if I've and I do, I'm saying I, because I take full responsibility for these things,
yeah.
right?
That's
So
being a
if
father because, like we talked about, there's so many fathers that didn't take the time, that didn't have the care, that never showed concern because their morals. That was weakness. And now
right,
we live in a society where I think a lot of these morals have been um, transformed. Um,
hmm
so, absolutely. I'm with you on that one. I think I hope someone heard that, Jim. I think that might be valuable, and I think that might serve a father that wants to arrive to where you're at.
yeah, I mean, it's all about the environment you create. If all your kids see is you cussing out your wife all the time, that's what they're going to take with them,
Yeah.
That's what they're going to remember. They're going to be like, okay, so when she pisses me off, I'm supposed to cuss her out.
But unfortunately, because women see that too, that's why you have little girls that come up and they feel like a man is weak and doesn't love them if he doesn't put his hands or raise his voice towards her. She feels unseen or unloved. Just like, I'm gonna leave it at that because I don't want to talk about rappers and celebrities, but we're sharing dangerous thoughts with our young people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll talk about them. I don't, because I never really know their names, but
Yeah.
um, uh,
Ari,
I saw.
I'm talking about. I like Ari Fletcher. She fine, but she with Moneybag. They be playing these games, and she be talking about how she like him barking at her and yelling at her and putting her in her place. And I think our media sensationalizes it. These little girls see it and digest it, and they hold on to these thoughts. They get older, and I think a lot of women manipulate men into violence.
Right. Well, I mean, the funny part about it is, I mean, I think you use a very profound word. Is like how weak a dude looks when he's yelling at a woman. Like, just if you can really try to imagine this for yourself, guys. Like, you look extremely weak when you pick a fight with the lesser being.
Mhm.
Okay,
The weaker
because
vessels, you can't argue
yeah,
with.
her whole her whole makeup is to be protected by you, but
Mhm.
essentially what you're doing is you're turning on the one that you protect and yelling,
And I've done
right?
that before. I'm not gonna act.
Yeah, I've never actually yelled at my wife before. Like, I've never done it.
Beautiful. That's
I've
beautiful.
never yelled at her. I've never cussed her out. I've never done anything like that. It's not because I want to
In my
be able
current
to.
relationship, we've never been in an argument. It's been 3 years.
Well, get married. That'll
I
change.
know, right?
Yeah,
Never, never, never.
me and Vicky were married. Me and Vicky was together a long time before our first argument ever happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was, like I said, it wasn't because we fit or anything like that. Any man can fit with any woman. The design has
Mm,
nothing to do with your preferences. You know what I'm saying? Because
mm.
honestly, Vicky doesn't match most of my preferences.
That's the one you want. I like that you say that because she's the one that you want, and I know that she's the one that you want. But you can observe and parse these thoughts.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not necessarily all about physical attributes to me. Yes,
Hmm.
physically, when I first met her, I was just like, yeah, she nice with it. Yeah, yes, I mean, she was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So physically, yeah, she can match up all day with the things I was looking for, right? What I'm looking for. But when I'm look with the things that I'm looking for, no, they don't match up. Why? Because what I mean, I would have probably went after something different, right? But you don't know who you're marrying until you're married to them,
Right.
because you're always meeting the person's representative. You're always meeting the best cut, the best cuts of that person. You're not meeting the person with the fat. You're meeting them with the cut with just pure cuts, and
That sirloin.
all you get to see is the nice burn lines from the grill on them,
Yeah.
right? However, when you marry them, then you get to see where they really come from, right? And you'll start to notice things about them that you weren't exactly expecting
One.
or ever stopped for, and that's it comes with the territory. And that's why I say preferences don't necessarily matter, because you're going to literally find the opposite of your preferences with any woman or man that you're with,
Mm,
um, because they're holding back. They are.
mm.
They're definitely holding back. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, you used to hear about women that they never went to the bathroom while you were around or something like
Right.
that.
Right.
It's because they're holding back. Like, they don't want to look too comfortable. They don't want to let that out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and not to be vulgar or nasty, but I mean, it's just something simple like passing gas. Like,
Yeah.
you you won't hear or smell that for 4 straight years, and then all of a sudden, what's
And
that?
the first time you're like, what? You do
It's like, you
that?
do that. You do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's been holding back. I mean, and that's, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but
No.
I mean, that the fact it's a fact of life that people don't always tell. They don't reveal their full hand with you.
I'm gonna be honest
Even,
though. This is the world affecting me. I'm not gonna say I like it necessarily because it's false, but it's a respect that you can observe from women sometimes when they do silly things like this. And then
yeah,
using the other side of the brain, they're trying to mislead you. It's a lie. It's a cute lie. It's a flattering lie, but it's untrue.
yeah. I mean it's the same as the things that women. I mean, I don't have a problem with women wearing weave or things like that.
Me
Uh,
either. I
I
need to
don't have
do
I
good
don't
now.
have a I don't have a necessary problem with women wearing makeup, right?
Me,
Uh, but
but
prefer I would prefer a woman that doesn't need weave. I would prefer a woman that understands that she doesn't need makeup.
I
You know what
used
I
to
mean?
date biracial women. I know.
You said biracial women. What do you mean?
Yeah. I used to like hair. I used to like a woman that would have her own hair and wouldn't have to buy more of it, right? Um,
Um,
but it's not that simple always. I'm just making a joke and saying that we can be so misled with our eyes because all these visuals for men, our gait, a vulnerability is our eyes, that we don't connect to the heart or we don't use our own.
Right. Yeah, and then the sad part about it is sometimes you'll get complacent with what you've been privy to, or what you've been, I guess to say, grown accustomed to. You've always grown accustomed to her hair looking great, and then 2 or 3 years into the marriage, you know what I'm saying, and that when she start rocking that bonnet around the house, and you just sitting there looking at her like, yo,
Babe, what's
man.
that fuzzy underneath there? What's that?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, your hair wouldn't, make the bonnet shape like that. But when, the bonnet come off, it's like, I didn't know your hair looked like that. You know what I'm saying?
Meek Mill do hair or something? How you get that?
And
That's what I be.
yeah, essentially, it all boils down to what's in what is most important to the individual. So if her house is the most important thing to her, um, and being a good wife is the most important thing to her, and ensuring that her children are always ready to go and taken care of, and her husband is always has no need for anything. When the woman does that, when those things are paramount to her, you'll find that men, the husbands, they fall in line a lot easier, man. Like I've met so many women that get upset because they don't get no act right out of their husbands, and
Mm-hmm.
my basic reply to them is how you act.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? How do you act at home? Do you fuss every time he says something? Does it always have to be an argument? Does it always have to be a debate? Um, are you constantly trying to push off work onto him that you don't feel like doing, not
That
necessarily
too.
aren't able to do?
Mhm.
So I mean, I can understand, you know, um, I have to pick up my mom from the airport at 7, so I'm not going to be able to take the kids to school at 6:30. Do you think you can help out with that? Boom, there's your reasoning. I get that part. What I don't get is I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. Like I never asked you how you feel. I never asked you.
And I think that that is leading to a certain extent because those expectations become instincts, and those
Hmm.
instincts are what really get you to a great place
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes. I think married couples, if they're thinking of themselves as one unit, if that's how they both see themselves, they're a part of a unit,
Team.
right? They become one flesh,
Hmm.
right? They tend to look at the world a lot differently. They'll try to look at the world through each other's eyes rather than just their own, right? They'll start to say that we have this amount of money rather than I have this amount of money, or they'll start to say, we can't make it rather than I can't make it, right?
Yeah.
Everything will become a part
Dude,
of become the unit. You know what I'm saying? And as long as the paramount, the kid, I mean, if that unit is strong, then the kids will thrive, and as a result, you'll have two or three more functional people in the world. But if that unit is simply a means to get to the bag, right?
And that's
Then
all they want.
then what you get is Will Smith's kids.
You know, Will Smith finally said he want to get divorced supposedly today.
Just today?
He came to a census today supposedly. So I'm
Well,
rooting for that. I mean, I don't
hey,
believe in divorce. Malachi 13, God hates divorce, but wow, I've
but
never
here,
rooted for divorce like that. But I don't think that that's a relationship that's real. It's been broken for so long that there's more sin in the marriage than there would be without, right?
yeah, because I mean, he quite honestly, and I don't know, how many times uh, he cheated on her, but it's public knowledge now that she cheats on him. So it's just like, yes, the Lord does hate marriage, but He did give a parameter as to when you can.
Yeah.
He'll nullify a marriage for you is when
Moses can give those certificates.
when you're cheating. You know what I mean? Because if you're not going to be faithful to this woman or to this man, well, I'll find someone that will, right? Because
And God delivers, God restores. If you
yeah,
have a partner that's unable to honor and respect you, God will take care of it.
if I can offer any advice to that man, I would say you need to take them kids with you, because
Even
if you
but they grown.
they are grown, but when I say take them with you, I mean in the sense that you have them follow you wherever you go.
Yeah.
Because
Lead them.
if they stay with Jada, they won't change. They'll get worse. Like, I mean, these them two boys, that boy and that girl are crazy.
I
They're
ain't say,
crazy.
but it
I
doesn't
did.
look good, right?
I said the one on the right said it. I said that your
Let
kids
them
are
know.
crazy, and it's your fault. It's your
It's
fault.
tough. It's tough, man. Like I've looked at this situation, we've all seen it, and it just makes turn after turn and left after left.
Yeah. If your kid is in prison right now, it's
Mm.
your fault. If your kid is if your kid is out there gang banging and wagging and sagging, it's your fault.
If you're selling poison in the
I don't
community,
care what scenario you want to give me. Like I said earlier, the environment that you provide is how the one they'll thrive in. They'll
right?
thrive in the environment that you provide. So if you're providing a chaotic childhood, they're going to become chaotic. I mean, adults.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. There's no way around it. Like my okay, so I mean, and you see the sad part about it is people have made money their god, so they honestly think that money solves problems.
They
It
work
doesn't, and the
the love.
reason why I know it doesn't make sense is because my wife grew up poor,
Mm.
right? And she has more level. She's more level headed than any woman I've ever met in my life.
Oh wow.
Any woman I've ever met in my life. That's the most level headed woman on earth, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And it's simply because she followed her dad's rule.
What rule was that?
No matter what her dad said was law. And as a result, what you get is a young lady that when she does find a mate, she finds one mate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh, when she finds a when she made a decision on her career, she's she's only a year or so from 20 years of that career because she followed her dad's rule.
You found a woman that could focus, which is very
Exactly.
rare.
Exactly. She can focus on other things that she makes money because she's focused on important things,
Yeah.
on important matters. She's not focused on the money, so the money does come.
Amen. I appreciate you taking the time, and I think that we dropped some gems for everyone that was listening to this episode of the
Modern Black Man Podcast.
Do you have any shows or anything that you want to share before we break? Anything you're working on? Anything you want to shoot people to? A website, a project, or just good wishes?
No, I mean, I just, I wish the world for anybody that's listening. I pray that you understand that I don't mean to make a fuss. I don't mean to be harsh or inconsiderate of anybody's one's needs or feelings. I truly I truly hope that people come to an understanding that there's more things that are important than the golden calf. Okay, like when you really think about it, every god that people tend to gravitate to, they created themselves. I mean, so if you wake up thinking about how to make the next dollar, that's your god, right? If you wake up just trying to figure out how to get some likes or get some clicks, that's your god.
Mm-hmm. Idol.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was up at 3 o'clock this morning, mad at myself because I couldn't bring myself to get out of bed to pray, and it was on. And I mean, I had woke up to use the bathroom, like that. I mean, and then now I'm sitting there fussing with myself to get down and pray because you have an opportunity, right? Um, and then those moments in the day when I find myself trying to understand what I should be doing, right? Um, I have a clear understanding of my Creator.
Amen.
That his only requirement of me is worship, right? And how do you worship? There's hundreds of ways of worship, but the fact of the matter is that's your choice. Your choice in the matter is whether or not you're going to bend your knee to someone or something, right? But the something is always something that you created. So you got to go out and make money just so you can worship your own money.
Too many people are gonna miss that, but I think that is the most powerful gem that we've dropped all day.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll find those things will become a lot easier to understand if the woman that you're looking for is grounded as well. She's not trying to ensure that her chakras are in place or running around with sage leaves acting like a fool. No, she's essentially just trying to find her place in the world by being respectable and making sure that her dad and her mom's name don't get tarnished, her name doesn't get tarnished, and then one day her husband's name doesn't get tarnished because she is approaching the world from the most respectable manner possible, right? um,
That
and then
sounds
as a result
mate.
what you end up getting is kids that don't burn stuff down.
Yeah. Until the next episode, y'all. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I'm blessed to get with the homie today and wrap this one. I hope you guys follow us on all the platforms that we're on. We can't appreciate it enough. Peace.